Mr. Baker. Good to see you.
Mr. Womack, my puppy's at the office if you want to come down and meet.
Which one?
Moana,
Oh, yeah.
she's Chow. Chow.
Well, I would assume that we're gonna stop somewhere in your Tesla.
So cute.
Is that the new dog for Patrick?
That's Patrick's new puppy. Yeah.
Okay.
Have they established their bond?
Sally already said she wasn't making it. And Bernie said he wasn't making it.
Yeah, is Jody not coming?
I just texted her, but I can't call any meeting or order at the moment.
Good, I gotta wash my glasses.
I was gonna mention something about that.
Like, I don't know anything about being able to see.
Your left lens is dirty.
I got a little thing growing on it today. Very seasonal. There's the lady up in Canada that makes all my eye patches. I sent her an email. I'm like, hey, I don't have any Christmas eye patches. You got anything for me? Like 3 days later, I had this.
I
That's awesome.
totally thought that it was a different kind of leaf, and I'm not gonna lie, when I first looked at you, I had to look twice, and I was like, well.
Those are our neighbors across the street.
I have one of those too, but I don't normally wear those to professionals.
Probably not.
Nope, Jody is out and going to get a COVID test. So
Guess we're not having a meeting.
Well, so I mean, you can't hold a meeting.
Can't hold
you can't
official
take
meeting.
any Actions, but traditionally we have, had informal discussions about anything that was on the agenda. That might assist us in moving forward next time.
all right, well, there'll be no formality to this then. Although, well, I don't know, we can't take any action. We can't even do unexcused, can we?
Well, I guess what I'd recommend is, I guess, opening the meeting through the roll call until we identified that there's no quorum. At that point, we'll proceed with an informal meeting if you'd like.
All right, then we will call the meeting to order with the pledge of allegiance, please. Right. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Screw that up from the.
Words are hard.
Yeah.
I don't like words.
Okay, a roll call then. Ms. Arp is excused due to illness. Mr. Byer is excused due to notification, yes. Ms. Ensley,
Yes.
Ms. Conley, and no one has heard from the mayor. So that would be unexcused. Ms. Howland, also notified. Ms. Powell.
Here.
Mr. Vriesinga notified and is excused. Mr. Wilks.
Here.
And Mr. Ringler is here. We are short of a quorum, so we will not be able to conduct any business. However, we can run briefly through an informal discussion.
Public comments, right?
That's next.
Okay. I just don't like-
So we will enter into public comments. Those citizens wishing to speak on agenda or non-agenda items will be allowed a maximum of 4 minutes. And as this is informal, this is the only time during the DDA meeting you will be allowed to address the board. Please state your name and address for the record if you would like.
Randy Baker. I purchased the Gephardt Insurance Agency earlier this year at 14 South Main. And I'm looking to do like a facelift on the building and possibly add on. So just wanted to get some information on what was out there as far as grants available, how the whole process works. Different people have told me that different cities do different things. So I just thought it'd be worth, finding out if there's anything available there before I start into the project. So
Welcome. Laura's a good source.
okay.
I can give you a couple leads.
Okay.
Ms. Arp has been through it as well. Who's obviously not here, and Mr. Womack are probably all good people to have conversations with.
Sounds great. Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it.
Welcome to
Welcome to the
town.
street.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
One of the reasons that Mr. Baker is here, though, is that the GDA does have the authority to develop some kind of grant program, which we don't currently have. It's something that we've discussed in the past. Facade improvement grants, signage grants, stuff like that. We are now kind of getting into the third or fourth year of this board being well-funded. We do have some money left over. It's something that we want to address in the next budget year, which you guys will be developing shortly. So beyond that, it is obviously a great resource. These business people have been through this process before. And Mr. Baker, I've already sent you information regarding brownfields.
Yeah.
That's the main one that the city goes through.
Okay.
So if that's something that might work with your plans,
Okay.
get a hold of us and we'll walk you through it on our end as well.
Appreciate it.
If you have a card, I can send you some stuff
Okay.
as well. So,
Sounds good.
yeah, feel free to either leave it there or pop it up here in the.
Okay.
All right, well, I don't think we can really formally approve, well, we have conflicts of interest. Again, none of this is going to be formal. We have, can't approve an agenda. We cannot approve the consent agenda, so that will move to the next meeting. But informally, we can discuss our budget for next year.
Yep. So I put last year's budget in here, just so you guys can get a feeling for what we had planned on spending money on. Obviously, some of this stuff we're still planning on spending, like the bike race. I anticipate that will occur as well.
It's already planned. There is a date for that.
We haven't, the city hasn't received any notification, but I have seen it on Facebook.
Yeah, I want to say it's May.
And $5,000 for parking lots. I can't remember if that was already spent or if we anticipate spending it. But don't you worry, we will spend as much money as we can. Public art.
May 21st.
The welcome sign mural. I guess we'll have to see if any money was left out over that. Flower box expenses. I don't know again if that was from last year or if this is anticipated for next spring.
I'm not doing,
But I understand that Ms. Ensley is not interested in continuing to do that.
I will put mulch in and all of that stuff. But that just,
For what it's worth, the flower boxes I thought actually looked really good this past year.
yeah.
I
they
agree.
look really good.
That you did a
Yeah,
great job
yeah.
on it.
With the garden club, I mean, does anybody have contact with them if we help fund them? I mean, would they be interested in doing that?
I don't think the boxes need anything besides mulch, and we just toss the mulch in there. I mean, like that piece is easy, but like the hanging baskets and stuff, it's just too hard because the help that we have just can't do them. I had a really wonderful,
Really, every
It's into the garden club then.
You tried, and I appreciate that.
yeah.
every good hanging basket I've ever seen had an automatic watering system. We just don't have it.
The only other option would be to offer the businesses their own flower pot or something.
That would be amazing.
But will they take care of it?
We've tried to do that in the past and there was a lack of interest.
I know, I know from the last 25 years, you know, but I would think could maybe make a contract with each business owner and say, if we present you with this beautiful flower pot, would you take care of it?
I'm gonna do a ridiculously large hanging basket in front of my office.
Yes, and it looks great.
So one thing I can tell you is that we hired a summer help person kind of late in the year last year. They were getting good at their job towards the end of the season. And we anticipate inviting that person back. And I'm also hoping and anticipating hiring, I guess what I'll call a parks attendant this year.
Good.
Somebody that will help with the concerts. And we might be able to, if they're interested, have additional hours available for flowers or whatever else.
I just was gonna say, what about flower boxes in the heart at the amphitheater? That would be a super nice. I mean, maybe we can use it and buy some beautiful pots.
If I'm hearing though, the issue is really labor, besides what you have.
Watering generally, yeah.
Okay,
Now, Arcia Springs has sprinklers. So anything put out there would probably be sprinkled on.
but would we be able, does anyone have a contact with the garden club who already has an interest in this?
I'll tell you what, it's like 6 old ladies and only 3 of us show up at a time. And we have all we can handle with the community garden.
That's
Okay.
beautiful.
It's a lot of work. But we're gonna present another, request in the near future.
Also, the city put a lot of time and expense into setting up a watering system at the
Mhm.
community garden. Because there's a fire hydrant there, we could.
Mhm.
It's just, it's not economically feasible to have a new watering system installed, where all the hanging baskets go.
Yeah, and I thought the garden club paid for the watering system, didn't they?
The city had its own portion.
Yeah, okay, I didn't realize that, but we got something going on we want to ask about. But I think we're spread as far as we can go.
Is there any other groups that might be interested? And then maybe the Lions or the,
I'm still of the
Legion
opinion
or
that
the-
we should look at more public art instead of flowers. Public art doesn't have to be water.
Sculptures would be cool.
Flowers. Giant metal flowers.
Yeah, if they were available and somebody didn't buy them all up out from underneath the city.
I don't know, there's plenty left.
Wonder who that was.
yeah, well, they do disappear every once in a while. it seems.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right. So this must be last year's if we had the welcome sign mural still on this, yeah?
Yep, so just showing you what last year's looked like, so you could identify any things that had not occurred yet, and also just put you in the mindset of what next year might have to look like, at least partially.
We never did the training, did we?
Nope, so $930 was available for training that you guys could identify. The problem is there isn't a whole lot of available training for DDA. There is Main Street planning, which is related but different. That gets a lot more in depth into the whole organizational side of how DDAs are run, or Main Street programs are run, and not so much, at least what I would think of as, improving your city in general. But if you guys identify training that you think would be appropriate, just bring it to city staff and we'll see about getting you signed up for it.
Membership.
Yep, so there was some question about, the mayor serving and whatnot. So we dug up the law. It does indicate both. So under the state law, it says that the mayor or their designee from the executive board, city council, shall serve on the board. Then in our local bylaws, it seems to indicate that the mayor shall. So it seems as though Ms. Conley shall, unless we want to change the bylaws, and then she could appoint the designee in her place if she's not able to attend the meetings. So Ms. Powell, my understanding is that you serve the board as a citizen member, because we're supposed to have at least one member of the board who is a citizen who lives in the community in the DDA district. So it's theoretically possible for the mayor to appoint Ms. Powell to be her designee, and then we would just simply have to find another citizen who lived in the area. So that's a possibility. And then I guess another question for you guys is, do you think we need to do different types of recruitment or increase the diversity of the board? I mean, today's a great day to talk about it. We've got several members who are out.
Well, that's a concern. I mean, to me, that I haven't seen the latest attendance. I know you probably have it. We can look at it maybe in the next meeting if we don't have it handy, but if we're having some, I mean, things are going to come up sometimes, but if we're having some people that aren't making the meetings, I would rather have someone who's motivated and wants to be involved. So, and we have some new businesses in town. It's a good opportunity to get people involved. So,
Mr. Baker, maybe.
I was just
sure,
thinking that.
there's multiple new businesses in town. So,
That's true.
Oh, no.
Wonderful.
Not that I have to mention it, but the marijuana businesses, we're gonna have 7 to 10 of those in town here shortly. It might be appropriate for them to have a voice on the board.
They can't,
Excellent.
Why not?
because it's a government body.
Then NRA rule.
They absolutely cannot.
Really?
Now, is that ownership? Because they could have a manager.
I don't know if the
Or an
manager can
employee.
either, but I could look at that rule and let you know. I'm 99% sure nobody can.
Wacky.
In any case, I thought it would be a good way to.
Oh, I agree. I think it's crazy that they can't.
Well, honestly, they should at least be sending somebody to these meetings. In my opinion. But anyways, so whatever it's worth, I put that in your agenda to discuss.
I'd like to mention that at Chamber too, because there's some. Yeah, Huizinga, John Huizinga, he seems like he's really interested in the community. And maybe we
Rise
could,
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's the president of the chamber. Involved in a lot of activities.
And he could be he could be a citizen. Is he a citizen of the city?
He is not, he lives in Nelson Township.
Oh,
Also, there's a.
you live in town?
Our businesses in town.
Oh, okay.
It's a potential conflict of interest. to
Mm.
have Somebody be both chamber president and the DDA president.
Okay,
That's a decision for the council.
right.
Well, I mean, obviously, I think one of the questions would be for some of our members, do they have an interest in continuing to serve? If they're having trouble making some of the meetings, so that may be the place to start, but
Well, council could also choose to not reappoint them or to ask them to come off the board. It's in the council's, I guess, best interest.
For my own reference, rules wise, for like business owner members, they have to be, their business has to be within the DDA's defined area, correct? Okay, so like somebody from down like 17 Mile can't, none of their businesses are the ones past White Creek, everything down by like TSC and all those,
yeah, no,
those are no-go, yeah. But that's my own reference, I was just trying to think of who else I knew that might be interested in doing.
some of the new ones I thought about, obviously Laura just kibosh, so.
Sorry.
That's okay. No,
What about
obviously,
the everybody
that
at
may change too with the current administration, but I don't know.
17 Mile in Muskegon, the shop center right there, those are in our purview, are they not?
I'll have to look at the.
Or
map.
like Hungry Howie's and Jasmine Ty and all them are?
Let me look at the map real quick.
Yes,
And I think their owner, Mike, would be very receptive. Next time I'm in
He's a
there.
good guy.
If he's allowed, I'll talk to him next time I'm in there and see if he wants to do it.
well, again, if we have an opening too. before-
Also true. I'm sorry,
We don't have an opening yet.
I'm aware of that, but
Okay.
So I'm at page 23 of your district map. And honestly, I'm not sure that's in the DDA district.
okay.
It seems to be bordered on both sides, but for whatever reason, it was not included.
I thought I remember when we redrew it, that was, because we went all the way up to Nikki and Company, as I recall.
Yeah, Nicky and Company's in it. But for some reason, only the east side of the road, at least on the map here,
Hmm,
appears to be in
I
the
don't-
district.
I think that might,
Well, that building has changed hands. Maybe the new owner would be more,
so that,
didn't it? I don't
well,
know.
I'm not sure about the building. I think that's a rental space, but
Oh, I mean, like, doesn't matter. For some reason, I remember somebody buying the whole building out.
Well, it's more of a problem of it just was not included. in-
Right, I understand that.
Well, anyways,
that was,
I'll
that
look
was
in
4 or 5 years ago when we reset it. I was,
2017,
yeah.
but for whatever reason,
If we have an opening, let me know. I have somebody that I think would be fabulous.
I will look into whether that strip mall is included, but for right now, I'm gonna say probably not.
All right, the social district. Sounds like that may expand.
Well, I mean, I'm always looking for, I guess, opinions of businesses and how to make the city more business friendly. I do know that there was thoughts and concerns that the social district, as it was operated last year, was a bit constrictive. Perhaps appropriately so, considering it was the first year, we didn't know how people would react. And honestly, the city doesn't have a good kind of social area, in my opinion. I mean, walking to the heart of Cedar Springs, which is just a grass field at this point, it's not a great place to be. So the DDA, of course, is talking about potentially buying some picnic tables, and we could maybe outfit the 17 North Main property as a always available and open social district area. So I think as we develop a plan for that property, we may also want to look at the social district plans from the city. And maybe line those up where we could maybe have more social district time and days available. And then similarly, related to that, the upcoming 2022 summer concert series. Mr. Ringler has offered his services in helping us line up acts for next year. One thing I was going to ask the board for, especially Ms. Powell, since you attended, I think, all but one of the events.
All of them.
Did you go to all of them?
I think so. I left early when one was lightning, but other than that.
Yeah, I think they started playing after another hour and a half.
I know.
Was to discuss any of the bands that maybe we did not want to see come back. I don't want to see the same bands every year come back. I know some of them did a great job and probably want to invite them back, but let's have a little bit of, change from year to year. Something else, Ms. Powell, I think maybe we should probably consider doing is, I guess, asking the public for reviews of bands as they occur. Because, the night of is probably the best time to get feedback. So we could use that for future development. But I also, Mr. Ringler, I believe you indicated that somebody is willing to donate some funding to this.
We got 2 points. I mean, on the lineup, what we did last year was we created a large list of potentials, and then with your assistance, we kind of whittled that down, and then it was a matter of availability, et cetera. We had a couple that we tried to recruit that refused. So, I mean, that's obviously on them. And we're certainly more than happy to do that. I think taking public input on suggestions is always good.
I've added,
And
I
then-
think, 3 or 4 new this year.
That's great. Yep. And we'll put them on the list. And like I said, it's a matter of availability and of course, budget. I think we worked hard to be well within our budget last year. So we were significantly under budget, which was good. But then, yes, I did have a communication this weekend that we had similar funding sources from last year. I think they're fine with it being public, but that CS Manufacturing and the Maybes were willing to kick in again and make sure that we were funded. So they
I
were.
believe we have some leftover funding from last year, which is good because I forgot that, the new budget year starts July 1st. And so if we wanted to have concerts in June, we currently don't have funding. So all I have to do is ask the city council to make some of that money available to us and we should be able to get June concerts. But one of the things we should probably talk about is how many concerts do we want to see?
I was gonna say, we had 8 weeks last year and then
10 weeks last year.
we booked 8. One of them slid back because we had a weather date that was, and then we waited 1 week into summer before we did it, but certainly we can go, we can fill up the summer, especially if we have funding. So, I mean, that's my opinion from being close there, that they were really well received. I think that you saw attendance go up week after week. The only hiccup we had was the week that everything got canceled at the last minute, and then people were kind of confused the next couple of weeks, I think. But for the most part, would your view reflect that it was pretty much increasing every week?
Yeah, and the Sea Cruisers was a big draw,
Mhm.
is my observation. And then that last band, they got set back a week. Otherwise, I think they would have been a bigger draw
Right.
than they were.
Well, they're a popular band, actually.
Yeah.
They've got a recording contract but again, the Sea Cruises were towards the end of the year, and I think every week, I think we were seeing better and better awareness and attendance, so.
They are a big draw anywhere they go, but I loved every single band that was there. It was just wonderful.
I agree.
Funnest
think
time
they
I
were all
ever
good.
had in Cedar Springs, other than Red Flannel Day.
So,
How about you? Sometime.
I think the whole time selling products while I was there, so.
Yeah, we had music.
Loved every second of
Oh, I
it.
enjoyed that. I hate standing around selling my delicious stuff all day long.
So let's address that for a second then, and I'll put it into context as well. So one of the things that we did last year to increase both business participation and I guess, parents bringing their children to the concert was we worked with various groups to do children's events. But we also allowed various groups to come out and either sell product or just get their name out there and advertise businesses. You guys think that worked out okay? Do we have any problems? Is that something we maybe want to see again in the future?
I think kind of like, we talked about this very briefly earlier in the year, the whole farmer's market concept, by being able to pair them together by doing a farmer's craft market kind of idea with the concert, we're gonna be able to draw people to both. Or kick people out of both, which is the annoying part about it. You don't know which way that's gonna balance. It'll either draw people in or get people to not want to go to one or the other. That's the problem with that.
It would be nice if there was refreshments over there, ice cream or popsicles,
Well,
something like that when it's hot.
yeah, so the kind of the way we did it, because we don't want to turn it, at least I didn't want to turn it into a marketplace.
Mhm.
Was essentially if you have food to sell and it doesn't require, a license from Kent County, you can go ahead and sell food, but, I didn't want people coming out and selling kitsch. I didn't want people selling whatever else. So food was okay for sale, but everything else was get your name out there and that's it.
Well, this may be one of those things that as it evolves, that we eventually, I mean, right now, we're still trying to raise awareness and, as I said, benefit local groups. And it was awesome that you guys were out there. I mean, City Impact obviously did a great job of having kids' activities. It may be one of those things, though, as we get down the road a year or two, we may have to have some kind of a approval process to, having people, because you don't want it to turn into a flea market. Which is, I think, the music still should be the center point. You want to have place for people to gather and enjoy that and dance if they want to, and kids to play, et cetera. So
I do not disagree with that at all. Sorry, I should have said that more clearly.
I think the farmer's market in conjunction with it would be cool. They would actually probably get more business.
we put 4 years into the farmer's market and you can't get farmers. So, I mean, and if we can't get participation and they don't show up every week,
We were like literally one of the only ones that was always there.
you guys, and there was another agricultural, but then
Nelson's.
once they pulled out, yeah, it was just,
I used to work with them a lot, actually.
yeah.
What
No,
if
they're
we
great
should
guys,
What
but,
if we should ask the Newtons if they would come and sell produce? Because the Newtons always came.
but they were one of that pulled out. Yeah. That was the problem we had. We had 3 or 4 core ones. Our popcorn was there regular, but once they pulled out, it was just, I mean, it wasn't for lack of effort. I mean, we tried, but if you don't get it, I mean, and it's a catch-22. If they show up regularly, then consumers would show up and then they would, but if they felt, oh, it wasn't enough right now, well, it takes time, you got to build it, but they would show up one week and then not show up, and then the consumers would go, eh. So they'd stop coming, and then they'd come back 2 weeks later and they go, oh, well, there's not enough people. Well,
So Ms. Ensley, if I could ask you then, so you don't sell food, but you did have a couple of times, I think, people out there handing out beer cozies and whatever else. Did you see that as a net positive for your business?
Well, I just like to be out in the.
I know, but-
Right, it's kind of my thing.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is, if we give kind of exclusive access to the DDA members, because you guys help fund the concerts, do you think the DDA members see that as something that they're going to want to participate in?
I would think so. I would think everybody should do it at least one time, right?
Well, because we did do that originally with the farmer's market. We said, if you're in the DDA district, you can come on down, set up your whatever, get some advertising.
I would
And
probably
hell,
would not do that.
even the Ford dealership came down and had some trucks out there once. But, we don't want it to become a flea market. We don't want, somebody from 30 miles away selling their stuff there either. So if we limit to the DDA, I see that as a good natural limit.
the district.
Yeah, DDA district. And, if what we're talking about, Ms. Powell, is getting food for people who are already sitting there, limited to food sales only. But, if you're selling real estate, you probably, make some contact with people, but not actually be selling houses, I guess. Anyways, that's kind of how I look at
Sometimes it
it.
happens.
It does.
Weird things have happened.
Oh, I'm not opposed to that. I just don't want.
And a little ice cream cart would be cool.
Even if we, as a DDA, would take ice cream and just hand it out to the kids as a DDA, would that be something the DDA would
What's labor, I
finance?
think Impact was kind of doing similar, if they. that may
Yeah,
be
City
something we
Impact
could-
does a ton of that.
And the library's done that a few times too. I
Ice
mean, we
cream
could
sales.
invite food trucks, but now you're bringing in somebody from the outside who's not a local person.
And we're competing against our food vendors, so I don't want to do that.
how many licensees submitted last year to participate in the district? Was it just 2?
In Social district?
Yeah.
Just two.
Just 2? Okay.
We have 4 potential licenses.
Right. Although obviously has not been open since COVID, but
Yeah.
I, especially considering the car show would be, I think would be cool if they did it and participated in it. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't want to eventually, but maybe they were busy enough that day. so.
They were,
Yeah, no, the car show's great.
it
So
is.
fine on their own, yeah. Anyway, so I guess if you have thoughts about how we could increase or improve upon either the summer concert series or the social district, I'd be happy to have them. And then eventually I'll get those approved of by the city council.
I think if we do have the little spot there at 17 would be kind of neat also. So anything we can do to promote walking up and down Main Street is good.
So the biggest problem there is going to be the picnic tables are about $1,000 a piece. So we're gonna have to invest some money into that. I'd probably want to have at least some kind of fencing around the back half because we don't want people trespassing across backyards and through the fire department. And then maybe a garbage bin or two, which maybe the city has something. But other than that, we want to make it a place that people want to be at. We want it to be an enjoyable experience for people to be there. And of course, you guys know, I've mentioned this before, there's a place down in East Grand Rapids called Outdoor Coffee. Big garden, and a food truck and everything. I'd love it to eventually be that, but obviously we don't have the money for that just now. Mr. Wilkes, didn't you contact somebody who said it was gonna be $30,000 to
For the grass there, yeah,
fake
it
grass?
was roughly 33, not including grading. And, but he and I spoke for a while about it, and he was willing to do it for significantly less, but we would have to provide a lot of the labor and the time. That would come from volunteers and whatnot from the community.
I think we should just put cement there.
Well, problem with cement is it's over an easement. We don't want to do that, right? So for the time being, we'll probably just leave it as natural grass and have our guys cut it. But this is a property we could certainly invest in, maybe over multiple years to make it nicer. So I'll probably ask you guys to at least buy some picnic tables. Go from there.
So if they're cut, do they have to move the picnic tables every time? Is it possible to just put cement pads for that?
We've talked about that internally.
Mhm.
Not sure if we're going to put cement pads or maybe gravel pads of some kind.
Something, so they don't have to drag them around every time they mow.
Well, and depending on how you set the tables down too, though, people are gonna move them on their own sometimes too, if they're not
True.
attached. Or
Even if they
or
are
Lord forbid they disappear, yeah.
Yeah.
Ours have stayed. We just screwed ours to the ground,
Mhm.
right?
This is grass.
We can still put lag bolts in it. Why can't
Yeah, we could probably put a 20-pound thing of concrete, a couple feet underground and chain it. But I don't know. It's something I'll
As long
talk-
as we're sitting here thinking out loud in an informal setting, but we had also talked at one point of incubator type pods too, a handful of those. I know that the setup they have in Muskegon is really cool.
love that?
That, I think they can have 1 or 2 years at a time that they're able to use it, then they gotta move on, but
It's a huge investment. I just don't know if this board by itself has the money for it. So you might be able to convince the city council if you put in some seed money to do that. But my recommendation for this year is let's get some picnic tables out there. Let's have it be part of the social district. And then I guess plan for the future.
Can we just not buy some wooden picnic tables that are inexpensive and see how it goes?
You guys can buy whatever type of picnic tables you want. Nice ones are gonna be about $1,000 a piece. Cheap ones are gonna be 600-ish.
from,
Unless you're
yeah,
talking uber cheap.
just in my experience of what we have in our thing, I mean, we have maintenance on our wood tables virtually every year, and they have a lifespan of between 4 and 6 years, and they have to be replaced.
So do the nice ones then.
I think you're way money ahead by having those are still gonna take a bit of a beating, but I think it's gonna hold up a lot better. Otherwise, you're gonna have carvings and people digging wood out and taking knives and, all kinds of, or setting fire to it. So. No, I'm not necessarily saying that happened in ours, but if it's out in an open and it's not
Right.
supervised,
I didn't think
we
it's
do have
possible.
stuff that happens in our smoking area and everything else that happens at night when nobody's there, so.
Speaking of which,
Unfortunately, you have to think about those things.
I think one of the things that most kind of cool areas have are those kind of overhead string lights,
of them.
And like, I'd ultimately like to see something like that. Not only would it have the area lit up, but it helps reduce vandalism. So,
And they make solar ones that are really fabulous.
do that.
Mhm.
So I'll throw that out there.
I love that.
Yeah, you're right. It was 10 max last year. It started with 8. All right, we had, I think the only thing we really had on was to talk about the mural. Your
That
mural.
proposal is not even close to what it is. She needs to get. She's just really busy in real estate right now.
Anyways, I thought it was appropriate to at least notify the board. So the contract that we have regarding this mural is that the mural is owned by the DDA. The DDA wants to approve of a modification of it. They can by majority vote. I don't take a position one way or the other than that, I think the board should approve of whatever the modification is going to be. So Ms. Ensley's muralist sent me a picture, which I had some critiques of, but I'd like to see a more finalized draft. I guess she can bring it back to the board and ask the board to approve of the modification. Instead of pink flowers.
The pink's going bye-bye if I gotta go out and paint.
Whole thing's going bye-bye, I hope.
All right. Well, if there's anything else anybody wants to bring up, again, this is informal, so we're not necessarily in a meeting here, but
Around the amphitheater area, I do think we need to make a border, where the trees are to the north side. You got a lot of people driving in to the actual area over the sprinklers and all kinds of stuff. In fact, Dan Clark is about losing his mind over that, but there should be a spot where, and there is the driveway part where the performers can drive up and unload their gear. And that's what we designed it originally for. And we need to keep the cars off that somehow and discuss a way, like the border along the street.
So, I mean, originally, we were not taking a position on that because we were having farmers, drive their vehicles up there, offload their farmers, market stuff, and then driving back off.
Mhm,
We then put the rope fence up,
mhm,
and then, of course, people would drive around it on both sides
mhm.
because people feel entitled to have their vehicles to offload whatever it is that they're doing.
Right?
Bounce castles or musical instruments, whatever. And so, it puts me in the city into a tough position of people wanting to do what they want to do,
Mhm,
and me having to be the bad guy and saying, no, you can't do that.
mhm,
So I'm willing to do whatever I guess the city council wants me to do on that.
mhm.
We could put up fencing, we can, put up signage, whatever you want me to do. But we have to acknowledge that there is going to be some backlash, and there will still be people breaking the rules.
Right?
Regardless of what we do, someone will
Right.
find a way to drive a vehicle on there.
Why don't you just put up a sign saying you're gonna fine them?
But there is you can take the rope down on the spot where you can drive back on there.
Yep.
And we could certainly make it possible in other spots, say on the sides where they're coming in and driving in. But, man,
So now do we have an approved list of people who can and a disapproved list of everyone else?
performers, I would think, should be able to get their stuff in there. That's why that was designed that way, so they could drive up in there and drop off their stuff.
No, that's not what Mr. Maybe told me. Mr. Maybe told me that it was designed for them to get their push carts along the asphalt path up to the amphitheater.
True.
Otherwise, they were not expected to drive on that asphalt path.
Yeah. But we made it a little bit wider so they could, but that's a CBDT thing. One of them says they can and one of them says they can't.
So you can see my.
that's the dilemma.
But we need to, I don't know if you talked to Dan Clark, he's thoroughly discouraged about people driving over the sprinklers.
I'm very aware, and I'm
Mhm.
honestly, I'm on his side.
Mhm.
Problem is, who do you want me to make angry?
I don't know, but We need to think about putting a border along the White Pine Trail so they aren't driving in there.
Yep.
And one along the library path, so they aren't driving in there.
The city doesn't own the White Pine Trail, so we can only get so close to it.
Right, right. I understand that.
And we've talked about putting some kind of fencing on the east side of that new asphalt path, but now you're kind of bisecting the park, which I frankly think would look bad.
Yeah, it would.
And of course, every other day, it's, oh, well, it's okay if these people drive the car.
Mhm.
A simple solution for now, just maybe getting a uniform set of rules, and any event organizer over there is given a copy of those and asked to comply by the rules. I mean,
Yeah. And that's what I probably anticipate we'll be doing this year.
I mean, it's a starting point. So I mean, nobody also wants to see this. It's a beautiful space down there. And I personally don't want to see a bunch of chain link fences and signs everywhere,
Right,
because that sucks. I mean, I
Right.
want this to be open and natural and community oriented. So.
Although for what it's worth, that ground out there is some of the hardest ground I've ever had to work with. I was trying to put those stupid little signs in the ground to show you where the social district was, and I had to take a drill with me to drill the ground out. You cannot get anything into that ground.
Cinders and slag.
It is hard ground.
I just use a sandbag to hold up my tents whenever I go out there. Yeah, drill into it.
All right, if there's anything else somebody wants to bring up, otherwise, like I said, this is obviously an informal meeting with no business conducted, so we can move along. So thanks, peeps. Always a delight to see everybody.
So are we gonna be open for
40
growler
minutes,
fills
beautiful.
on the 24th, the 25th?
24th, yep, that's our annual show.